Hey, I'm Tobias Wilhelm, and in this video I'll talk about why I defend millennials a lot of times and get quite a bit for it. Since I consult with a lot of businesses, I get lots of horror stories about employees, and somehow they always involve millennials here lately. They have no common sense. They are lazy. They are so entitled. Or that's what people like to say anyways, but let's take a closer look and see why I take up for them. Start with the common sense. How much do you and I, for example, actually have in common? My first job was washing cars for the neighbors, age 10. My first grade teacher's name was Frau Gotzalka. I grew up in Auerbach. Okay, fine, maybe it's not fair because I'm German and you're not, maybe, likely. But seriously, you and I have very little in common no matter what, especially if we grew up during different times. I grew up listening to 80s music. I remember the Challenger explosion. And by the way, interestingly enough, I learned all about America from sitcoms. Imagine my surprise when I got here and there wasn't a Roseanne sitting in every living room. So if you look at the millennials, they listen to 90s music, probably remember Gulf War or 9/11 as one of the forming experiences in their lives. I remember being scared of nuclear attacks and the Russians. So I'm pretty sure whatever life experiences we have in common, it's probably not many of them. It doesn't mean that you or I don't have common sense. We just don't have much in common. So even though a lot of us have really high standards when it comes down to wanting things done right, the definition of right is totally different for you and I and everybody else. So I have to be very, very clear on what's expected. That's not common sense, that's clear instructions. And by the way, so the definition of common sense varies from generation to generation too. Sometimes you have a baby boomer and a millennial arguing about neither one of them has common sense, and I'm like, you don't know how to work an iPhone and you just Googled how to boil an egg. So let's move on to values. Let's look at what millennials value versus the previous generations. Because you know, people tend to be shaped by the generation of their parents. So you look at what your parents wanted and what wanting that did to them. Many millennials watched their parents struggle to get stuff and decided that stuff is maybe overrated. And that's why they killed the housing market. I'm kidding. So for millennials, a lot of it is about experiences. Kind of like memories last longer than stuff. And you have to remember that for millennials, things are much, much shorter lived. Like how long is an iPhone actually up to date? And by the way, if you're thinking millennials experiencing Tide Pods, that's centennials. We'll talk about them another day. Millennials on education. So they grew up to believe that degree is the end-all be-all, and now they have one and they're overqualified to work at McDonald's. They're still paying for loans. Lots of loans. So you can imagine they're maybe a little bit disillusioned. Work their way up in a company? Hell no. Longevity for what? And it's not like the older generations like us are getting out of the way. People used to retire when they're 60, now they retire at 70. The next generation doesn't take charge until they're in their 50s. And the millennial comes in at age 20 and they're like, screw all of this. So they make up 20% of the workforce and really have no place to go. And like a football player, they jump back and forth trying to find an opening. Now, interestingly enough, that actually allows us to use them for what they're good at without having insight in the next generation. Any company will just die. Death by attrition. What does that mean? Basically that your customers are dying off and the next generation is not coming. One of the many reasons that the lifetime of a company in the United States is about that of the lifetime of the owner, about 30 years. So how can we use millennials in the workforce much better and use them better in our lives? Use them and involve them. Ask them questions. Mentor them. Let them be involved. Listen. You might actually learn a thing or two. Like they're not just crazy snowflakes. They actually have good ideas every once in a while. Not that our generation has the market on good ideas cornered. Remember we came up with fanny packs and shoulder pads? Not to mention the Sonny Crockett outfit I used to have. What was I thinking? So I hope this video has helped a little bit, at least open your mind on generations and communicating between them, because we all can learn from each other. That's why I love doing these seminars on different generations, because I love talking to people that are 80 and to people that are 18, and I've always learned something. So I hope you like this video. Please subscribe below if you want to see more, and leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. Until next time, I'm Tobias Wilhelm.